I think that it's just another Big 12 game for us, and if we can start to look at each game individually, obviously take the things that were good and bad in the TCU game and move forward, and then turn our attention very quickly today to Kansas. Probably their best team, I think, since Coach Snyder's been there. They have a lot of dual threat kids that can really put the ball on the floor and scoring, obviously on penetration, but shoot the three really well also. They shoot a lot of threes, and they do it pretty well. So it will be a very, very big challenge for us defensively. I think on the flip side of that, we need to take the good things that we got out of our post play from the TCU game and try to carry that forward and establish an inside game as quickly as possible.
Questions?
Coach, Suge and Danny, they basically play like the entire game. Can you talk about what you see out of them and what they bring, and what you really need from them on a nightly basis?
Well, I think you need different things from each one of them. I mean, Suge is primarily playing the point guard position, and a lot goes into that. I mean, they have to make sure that everybody's where they need to be at all times. They have to make sure they're keeping a very positive attitude, yet at times need to get on their teammates. So I think she's carrying a pretty heavy load for us right now and scoring the ball pretty well. I think what's happened with our guard play is that we've established some consistency with 3 or 4 guards, and Danny and Suge are at the lead of that, in a sense of you kind of know what you're going to get from them. Even, for example, TCU, the TCU game on Saturday, Suge didn't particularly have a great day offensively, but I thought she led our team really well. I thought she hit free throws and did things that she needed to do, and then got the ball to the right people at the right time. As far as Danny is concerned, I think she's just sort of getting her feet on the ground with being in a Texas uniform, with her teammates, comfortable with how we play and what we expect. I think that you may even see her get more comfortable the second time around, because these are all new. I mean, she's like a freshman when it comes to seeing the teams in conference play, where normally you'd have a senior that would go, okay, I know exactly what she does. I think she'll even be more comfortable the second time we go around in conference play.
Coach, there have been a couple of home games here recently where you guys have had sizable third, fourth quarter leads, and they've all been dissipated. You did win the games, but yeah, they've kind of gone away. After looking at film and all those situations, was that just an example of the road team making some plays, or what are some things that you guys need to do, or what have you stressed to them about those things happening and trying?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of the other team not quitting or not getting down on themselves, and that's something that I think this team in particular is having to learn. And if you look at the way we played non-conference play, that was a bit of a trend for us in non-conference play. We were just able to overcome it because maybe the level of competition wasn't as high, the stakes weren't as high as they are now. And I think that hasn't really clicked with our players yet, that when you have a lead, you really need to try to punch somebody in the mouth and sort of what I call stick the knife in and make sure that you take care of business. And we're not doing that. We didn't do it at West Virginia. And again, on somebody's home court, you don't really expect to hold a huge lead. But when you get it, you can do little things like make sure you get consecutive defensive stops instead of scoring and then relaxing. And then the last part about it is maybe just shot selection, maybe managing the clock a little bit differently.
How hopeful are you that, they're hopefully getting to that point to where they can start just putting teams away, and how much of an opportunity would Wednesday night be for them to do that?
Well, I mean, I don't want to disrespect KU. I mean, they've been in every game they've played just about, and again, probably their best team since Coach Snyder's been there, and they can really shoot the ball, so they're never out of the game. There's a part of me that's like, okay, I mean, we've won 15 games, so we're winning a large portion of our games, and I don't want to, beat our kids down over winning. You just want to keep teaching and try to get to a point where you manage leads better. I'm not expecting to blow every team out in our league. That's not a realistic thought about being in league play. But I do think that, as you guys have mentioned, we need to learn how to manage a lead a little bit differently.
On that same token, though, Coach, do you like the way the team appears to be calm late in these games against Iowa State, Oklahoma, and then last Saturday. It didn't seem to be much of a panic.
Yeah. I think that probably the most impressive ones were the road games. You know, when the home team is making that huge run, as West Virginia did, and Iowa State. And I mean, and going back to the Iowa State game for a few minutes, I mean, you can look at their numbers, and we were really good defensively, and I thought we were really mentally tough, because when you look at the points that they're scoring on a nightly basis, it was a pretty good effort for our team. But I am really pleased with that, because it does take a little bit of toughness to be able to overcome a run and not panic, and, you know, make sure that you're getting good looks, make sure you take care of the basketball. And for the most part, the last 5 minutes of a game, or I guess you could get down to about the last 2 or 3, we've been pretty good. We have a stretch there early in the fourth quarter where we've got to figure out what are we doing, and, you know, maybe late in the third quarter it could be fatigue. Maybe I need to get a different, you know, maybe reset us defensively with a different lineup. I'll look at that and see if we can continue to tweak what we're doing in those portions of the game.
The halfway point of the Big 12 is almost here. Do you like your standing when you consider that you've won big games against 2 of the top, maybe 4 Big 12 teams in West Virginia and Iowa State? That resonates now. I
do like where we're at. I think that the thing that our team has to keep doing is taking care of themselves. Like, are they getting better? Are they improving on what has been exposed in these conference games that we've played early, which we have been exposed in some areas? And are we working every day to get to a point where those aren't weaknesses for our team? So, I mean, I think if we can continue to approach this about being about us and what do we need to do to get better, then I think we'll like the results that we get. And the minute we start to think, well, we don't have to keep improving, we don't have to start to look at our own selves and what are people attacking against us, then we're going to get the result we got last Wednesday.
I think it's natural for a fan to have an ingrown excuse. Well, they lost Prince, they lost Joyner, they lost LaShawn. How do you as a coach tell your players, forget the excuses. It's not about them. It's about us.
Yeah.
I mean, do you have to drill it in their heads that no matter what has happened, the season's right before them?
You know, I haven't had to do that. That's been a really interesting dynamic of this team, is that I think other than the initial maybe first week or 2 after Joyner's injury, just because I think everybody saw how, you know, hard she had worked this summer and where she was, I did see some initial disappointment there. But this team hasn't really, for a lack of better words, felt sorry for themselves over, you know, LaShawn or Sedona or Joyner and all of that put together. I think that they get more disappointed to me, and what their challenges are the individual disappointments in their own, whatever's going on with their own selves, you know, instead of not worrying about that and worrying more about what can we do together as a team, because we're talented enough. Regardless of who's injured, we're talented enough to be a great basketball team. If they would put their energy into what they can do instead of what they're not doing or what's not happening for them. And I think that's difficult sometimes, especially if they can't, you know, stay tunnel visioned. It's hard to do this day and age.
How about that Charlie Collier coach, and how do you get that same performance and effort and maybe more moving forward?
I think I told you guys before the game against TCU that I needed to find a way to get her in there more. And luckily, she got that opportunity on Saturday and produced. But again, I think we all know she's a very gifted offensive player. It's just a matter of, you know, can she pay attention to what the coaches are telling her? And it might literally be like right before she goes in the game. She might think she's got in her mind, this is what I'm supposed to do in this game, but then when we put you in and, you know, Coach Tiff gives you something very specific we want you to do, you just have to follow instructions. And I thought that was what she did a really good job of Saturday, was just, okay, I'm going to let her tell me walk me through this kind of. And if she will continue to do that, I think we can guide her in the right direction from a defensive standpoint, and then offensively, I think everybody can see what she's capable of. And she's just going to continue to grow.
Coach, TCU had 23 three-point attempts, and while they only made 4, they had a bunch of open looks. How concerning is Kansas's ability to shoot the 3-ball?
It's very concerning, and it was concerning for me against TCU. Now, I will say that some of those looks were contested, which, to be quite honest with you, was what opened up the middle so much. And you sort of pick your poison in most Big 12 games, and now I didn't want to pick that much poison in the paint, but I did think that it was really important for us not to let them, in particular, Kiana Ray and Abby Okonkwo, just go off on us on the three-point line. I do think that most of their shots were contested, those two in particular. We let them get away with a couple of open looks. But, that was the game plan, was to try to take away easy looks for them because they feed off of threes.
Coach, you've talked a lot about strength and conditioning over the years with your coach there. How much emphasis on Charlie is strength and conditioning? Because it looks like she's got the tools. Sometimes it looks like she gets pushed around a little bit.
I think it's more with her, just learning how to have a base. It's not that she's not strong. Charlie came in here, as did all of our freshmen, in probably as good a shape as I've ever had a freshman class show up. She'll get stronger, no question, but it's really more of how do I use my strength? How do I hold people off? Got to bend your knees a little bit more than maybe you had to do in high school. Get a base, make sure you use that, use your length, do some things that she hasn't necessarily had to do. First of all, the base is in the paint, and then outside the paint, learn how to use your length to your advantage. Those are all new areas for her. And every day, again, I say this all the time, a freshman learns from every single day. They learn from every experience, whether it's good or bad. I thought she learned from the Iowa State game that, look, they're going to go at me, and I have to be ready. And she was a little more ready on Tuesday, and she'll be, on Saturday, and she'll be a little more ready Wednesday.
Will you, as a coach, talk about MLK Day to the players?
We actually talk about it prior to today, just in a sense of the parade today and the activities that go on in our city. And I want them to have the opportunity to do what is in their heart. I think it's a special day. He was a tremendous leader for our nation, and someone that you can always, there's just never a time or never a year that goes by that he's still not talked about and looked upon as someone that we all look up to. And I think it's special for our kids to remember that and acknowledge it, and whatever they want to do for their own individual selves it's important for me to make sure that I acknowledge that.